So I had this dream about 2 months ago, and this was super interesting. Wow. Yeah, getting chills now thinking about it. So I was showing New Zealand and the new Earth after the Earth changes, and I was showing Eastbourne, where I'm from, a little town on the eastern side of Wellington Harbour. Very beautiful place, and it looked different. There were high-rise buildings. There were more apartment buildings. So it seemed like the population of New Zealand will be larger in the future, which makes sense because apparently, what's actually going to happen in the future is that Zealandia, which is a mini continent, will rise from the ocean, and New Zealand will connect with Australia. So there'll be this massive new continent in the southern hemisphere, and it's going to be kind of a golden land actually. And I think actually I've had some intuitive downloads about this. New Zealand is an insanely, almost deliriously beautiful country. Like it's a joke. You can just lean out the window of a car driving close to our family farm, which is 2,000 hectares, 20 square kilometres. It's near Waipukurau in the Central Hawke's Bay on a summer's day, and you take 10 random photos, and they'd sell calendars in most parts of the world because that's how beautiful New Zealand is. It's like a waking dream of heaven. I'm not kidding. Most of New Zealand is like that. I've travelled all over the world. Nowhere even gets freaking close. Everyone talks about how beautiful it is. Yeah, it's absolutely true. It's like deliriously, insanely beautiful. Just the colours, everything. I think a lot of it is, I think New Zealand is going to be this amazing heavenly place in the future, and this kind of promised, blessed land on the new earth. And it's almost like that energy is leaking through time. So even though the society is absolute hell on earth, New Zealand is at least twice as toxic as the most toxic parts of the US. It's absolutely brutal, the society. The land is heavenly, and that's what it will be like in the future. So it was very peaceful, and it looked what was interesting, I saw pelicans in Wellington, and I got a kind of a little. The climate looks similar to the climate of northern New South Wales. So it was like the latitudes had shifted, and all of a sudden it was much warmer. So pelicans are birds you get more in like subtropical and tropical waters, or at least warmer waters. You don't get them in cold, temperate climates. So the climate was warmer, and it also indicates that the kind of the biota, the native plants and animals, that will change because there were pelicans just flying around, living in the wild. That's what I could see, and yeah, very peaceful, positive feeling. It was different. It was completely different. New Zealand's hellish right now and very ignorant. It was the opposite. It was very peaceful and tranquil, and it felt very serene and pretty amazing, really. And Wellington looked more or less the same. There was more land where Eastbourne was, so it had been kind of rebuilt. So I think Wellington's going to still be there as a city after all these changes, and yeah, when it's this new continent. And so New Zealand is hell right now, and it's going to go through a lot, but it's going to be one of the best places in the world. And apparently on the new Earth, there will be many after these Earth changes. I think this will all play out over the next 10 to 50 years. And the map will look totally different. There will be new continents. Atlantis will rise again in the Atlantic. There's going to be this enormous new continent in the Pacific. I think people kind of call it Lemuria. That will be similar to the size of South America. And then most of East Asia is going to go under, China, Japan. Most of Europe will go under. Parts of the US will go under. There's going to be a lot of new land off the coast of Chile. Lots of the sea levels are going to move around. But yeah, it looks like somehow Wellington will survive all this. And the future's looking pretty good. But it won't even, I don't think it'll even be New Zealand. I think it'll evolve into something else. And who knows? I think there might be more than one country on that continent. So, yeah, I just don't know. This is all speculation. But, yeah, big changes. And not just the land, but the climate and the biodiversity too. And also, just quick, one last note before I finish this up. When New Zealand and Australia join, there's going to be a lot of movement of plants and animals. And, yeah, it will change the biodiversity a lot because New Zealand's been isolated for so long. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. But yep. Oh, yeah, and there'll be many people migrating from Europe, from the Western world, going to this new continent. So it'll be, I think, yeah. And the population will be much larger. I always felt like New Zealand should have a lot more people, actually. It feels underpopulated. Should have at least 8 to 10 million right now, I think. So, yeah. Many changes to come, but bright future for New Zealand.